this session will be recorded, and because the others who've not been able to join this would want to listen to what we'll talk about, and even just for reference for those of us who would like to go back to this after this session. So if you're not comfortable being recorded, I'd kindly advise you to drop off at this point. Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen anyone who has dropped off, so I think we are all ready to go. Maybe just before we hop on to this discussion, I'd like to ask us a question, and I'm hoping that you're able to answer it. If today you were to be given one thing in unlimited supply for the rest of your life, what would that one thing be? If you were to be given one thing today in unlimited supply for the rest of your life, what would that one thing be? Feel free to unmute, raise your hand, or write the answer in the chat box. Yeah, peace of mind. Someone else? If you were to be given one thing in unlimited supply for the rest of your life, what would that be? I can see time and money. What else? Oxygen. Wow. Money in cups. Peace and joy, good health. Money, time, and health. Money, time, and health. Wisdom. Anyone who would want to explain to us why? Why money? Why good health? Why time? Why wisdom? Okay, yes. uh-huh. I think I've seen something that I am myself I would love to have in unlimited supply for the rest of my life. Not money, of course, peace of mind. Mine would be peace of mind. Anyone who can give us a reason why they selected the answer they selected? Yeah, Doreen has written peace of mind because with it I can achieve anything else. And who else before we can move on? Okay, okay. I think time freedom is always key. Money is important as well. Uh, Nessie Accord has written oxygen. My competing need here and now is money. Peace and joy is to have a clear satisfaction of what you have and clear of the future plan. Yes, so money, peace of mind. Wow. So money is really important, guys, right? Yeah, I think I'll also go with money. Okay, yes. So okay. Yes. Peace and joy, good health, all that, money, myself, money would go first. So yeah, let's just hop on straight to the conversation. Ensure that your video is off and your mic is on mute until when it's about time for you to speak to ensure smooth running of this virtual workshop. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, 80% of Kenya's population is made up of young people, and who are mostly the most unemployed lot in this country. And I personally believe that if these young people are equipped and empowered with skills, knowledge, opportunities, and access to information, they would contribute so much to economic growth. They'll contribute so much to the labor market, to the labor force, which will then ensure that we have inclusive economic development. And that's why we are here today. We are having this virtual workshop so that we're able to discuss how we as the young people can be ready for employment. One, two, how we can survive in employment, and three, we are able to learn best practices that will enable us thrive and flourish in the various employment sectors and in the various workspaces. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Esther Wanjiru, Kenya's country director, to give her opening remarks. Esther Wanjiru is passionate about equipping young entrepreneurs and aspiring ones with skills and insights to move their startups to high potential business ventures. Esther Wanjiru, karibu sana. Welcome.
Hey Bridget, Esther was having a little bit of issues on joining. Her mic has a bit of issues. Let me see if she's able to join. If she's not, we can just go ahead and introduce the speakers and then allow her more time and see if she's able to join and do it after the introduction of the speakers. So, Esther, are you in?
Hi, Doreen. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, but I can't hear anybody, so I'm just going to work by faith. I'm assuming that you wanted me to speak at this point.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon. I seem to be having a challenge with my audio, so I've missed all the wonderful conversations that have been going on at the beginning of this webinar. But I'm very sure that Bridget has taken you through a really exciting first part of the session, and while I'm not able to join, I will switch my devices once I have delivered my opening remarks, so that then I can be able to listen to what is happening in the background. But thank you so much. So we're really delighted to host you for this event. It's something that we are excited about, just hosting our young people, giving them an opportunity to understand more about what does the employment space look like in different sectors. We know some of you would like to join the NGO space. Some are looking to join technology organizations, tech-driven organizations. Others would love to join the government, the public sector. So whether you want to join the public sector, the private sector, the non-profit or development sector, then this is the event for you. This is the opportunity for you to get to understand what are the intricacies of joining the various sectors, have an opportunity to ask all the questions that you normally would not have a chance to ask HR, especially when it comes to maybe an interview setting. So this is your opportunity to ask all those questions, and we do believe that this is going to be a great opportunity for you all. So Kenya began its operations in 2005. Back then, the definition of digital was sending an email from a cyber cafe, or we had High Five, for those who can remember High Five, or Where Are You Now, and Yahoo Chat. Those were the ones. And smartphones and laptops were for very high level. It was the managing directors, the CEOs who had access to some of these devices. Yet now they are accessible to anyone. And even then, before technology and communications became mainstream, before everybody had an opportunity to get access to these devices, Dodd still believed in the transformational power of digital skills. We still believed in the transformational power of putting our resources in the youth, putting youth first, helping them to be able to get to access opportunities, whether it is to start a business or it is to get into employment. And through the support of Global Affairs Canada and MasterCard Foundation, we have worked with over 520 facilitators and trained and impacted more than 150,000 young people throughout Kenya. We've built long-term relationships with most of our partners who keep helping us move and improve on our programming, and that is why we are here and we are able to deliver this great program for you. And so far we've been implementing Daring to Shift, and Daring to Shift is a project that has been supporting young youth and young women with tools and skills to identify and harness the transformational power of technology and use digital opportunities to increase their access to employment, their business success, thereby increasing their income and sustainable livelihoods. So I do hope you'll take this as an opportunity for you to learn more about how to transition into employment, to ask all the questions that you'll be interested in, and we look forward to hosting you for other events in the future. Thank you very much, and back to you, Doreen.
Thank you so much, Esther, for such a wonderful introduction. Yes, over to you, Bridget.
Thank you so much, Esther, for sparing aside time to be part of this virtual workshop. We really appreciate your presence in this workshop. So to help us through this very exciting discussion are 4 panelists who are experts in their various fields, who work in various sectors, who will be sharing with us their experience and their insights in their various sectors in relation to the topic of today. So our first panelist for the day is Eva Leslie Atieno. Eva Leslie Atieno is a HR expert with 19 years of experience in the human resource sector in both the private and the public sectors. She is a member of the Institute of Human Resource Management with a practicing certificate and has performed strategic HR consultancy works for several companies in Kenya. Eva's areas of expertise include organizational restructuring, job analysis and evaluation, formulating strategic plans, performance management, training of trainers, entrepreneurship for small businesses, recruitment and selection of managers and directors, including CEOs, and is also well versed with formulation and review of human resource management policies and procedures. Eva's leadership roles have included heading a management consultancy function, providing a strategic management, organizational development, and executive search consultancies and training for various companies for over 12 years now. She has been involved in managing the career planning and succession management function at Kengen for over 7 years. She has previously managed the Youth Employability Project under the Federation of Kenyan Employers. She has conducted gender audits on women entrepreneurship and has delivered training under ILO and Entrepreneurship Together Ahead tools. She has also been part of the Female Future Program, a women's leadership program for board competence infused with rhetoric, funded by the Confederation of the Norwegian Enterprise. Lastly, she holds a Master of Business Administration with specialization in strategic management from the University of Nairobi and a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry from Moi University. Karibu sana, Eva. We are so glad to have you. Our second panelist of the day is Gabriel Nyamu, who is a seasoned corporate executive and a purpose coach with vast experience in purpose-led transformation for leadership and organizations through strategy execution, human capital transformation, big data, data science, and market innovation. He has a track record in championing purpose-led transformation through mindset transformation. And other than that, he has 17 years experience in the banking, insurance, development, and consulting industries. Gabriel believes in co-creating learning and knowledge with others through human-centered design, agile principles, and disruptive technologies in achieving sustainable impact in the marketplaces spaces he engages in. Additionally, Gabriel is the founder of the Purpose Vest, the Chief Transformation Officer at Inquest Research Consulting, and the Digital and Big Data Lead at Catalyst Associates. He is also the chairperson of the MSME Transformation Committee at Chief Executive Association of Kenya, and currently serves as the board chair at the Kenya Chamber of Commerce and other establishments in DRC Congo. That aside, Gabriel is a husband and a father, and his life purpose is to transform people's mindset for purpose-led generational impact. We are so glad to have you, Gabriel. Thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this workshop. Our third panelist of the day is Patricia Awori, who is a Senior Talent Acquisition Associate at Fuzo Limited, which is an online job recruitment platform. She is an non-tech recruiter with experience in agency recruitment, hiring for diverse job categories and industries across all seniority levels, and has a proven track record for spearheading successful recruitment projects and leveraging data and insights to better predict and evaluate candidates' fitness. Patricia has hands-on experience in building and scaling teams within startups and scale-up companies across East and West Africa. Thank you so much, Patricia, and welcome on board. Our final panelist for the day is Mr. Nicholas Kasidi, who is an award-winning global talent leader, recently named in the top 20 disruptive people leaders in Kenya 2023. He has over 15 years substantive exposure and experience in various HR leadership roles of increasing responsibility within executive search and headhunting portfolios, talent management, leadership development, performance enablement, and DEI, cutting across diverse sector within INGOs, private sector, consultancy, and startup environments. Nicholas is a renowned career coach, a conference speaker, and thought leader with a passion for unleashing people's potential and the impact it has on spiraling organizational growth. He currently leads the Global Talent and Capability Strategy Unit at Living Goods, partnering with businesses to champion strategic talent and workforce planning, continuous learning and development, capability building, and succession planning for critical roles by mapping out interventions for talent gaps, both internally and externally across the sector. During his free time, he offers business advice and mentorship to young entrepreneurs and change makers under the Greenhorn Mentorship, Ashoka East Africa Foundation, and Fuzu platforms. Nicholas possesses a bachelor's degree in philosophy from Pontifical Urbanian University in Rome, a postgraduate diploma in human resource management from the Institute of Human Resource Management, and is a full member of the same institution. He is also a former committee member at the College of Human Resource Management Alumni Association and serves as a board member at Zindua Career Africa. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of this workshop, Nicholas. And thank you so much to all the panelists for agreeing to be part of this workshop and for agreeing to share with us your insights and your sharing with us from your cups full of knowledge. So I will take this time and hand over this opportunity to each one of my panelists to introduce themselves and make your presentations for the day. So I will start with Patricia Awori, who will introduce herself briefly and who will give us her presentation for the day. Karibu sana, Patricia.
Thank you, Bridget. Hi, everyone. My name is Patricia, and I'm happy to be part of this workshop just to, continue the conversations about employee or employment readiness for youth in this country. So as introduced, I am a talent specialist with the background in agency recruitment, supporting diverse companies from various industries, various geography, that is East and West Africa. And I'd say I am, proactive in aligning candidates to, or rather match candidates to the job and job requirements for various employers. Today, I will speak about cross-cutting questions that cut across the NGO, the private, and the public sector. So that would be my discussion standpoint for today and what it takes just to do career in 2023 going forward. Bridget.
Patricia, are you able to share your screen or do you need support?
Oh, I should just go ahead with my presentation?
Sure. Bridget, or rather, let's have other speakers also introduce themselves, then we can start after they've introduced themselves.
All right. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eva Leslie Atieno. I'm very excited to join young people to discuss matters, employment, and particularly with respect to the public sector. So yes, I know we will engage beyond this, and therefore I will wait for my session. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Gabriel Nyamo. I'm a Papa's coach, and I'm glad to speak in this forum and also to diverse of young talent, young people who are venturing into their career journey. And I hope to be able to engage through sharing some of the experiences that I've had in the last around 18 years, both as a mainstream HR practitioner, but also as a consultant as well. But I am a strong believer that every one of us was born for a reason. As much as we are looking for jobs and employment, I believe that God has created us to pursue an assignment. And the only way to get fulfilled in life is actually when you're aligned to the reason where you are born. And I think I'll be dissecting that when my session comes. Pleasure to be here, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Over to you, Nicholas. Nicholas Kasidi, are you there? Okay, looks like Nicholas dropped. So we'll get started. I will dive right into the conversation. To you, Eva, please take us through the public sector understanding and navigating this particular sector. You're muted, Eva.
You're muted.
Hello. Are we there?
Yes, you are.
Just give me a second just to ensure that I am well. I thought we were going to start with Patricia. So, but here are my slides. I'm ready. In a second, let me just put the slideshow. All right, so we'll try to keep time. Work readiness in public sector. Now, the government is the biggest employer. Let me say, when we talk about public sector, we are simply talking about government employment. And I want to say that 50% of the employees in government are below 40 years. Now, that includes the youth. It's a bit difficult to pick the 5 years, although I think they would fall around 35% or so. Allow me to also say that jobs in public sector are very stable. Why? Is because the different government organizations and government departments are actually established either in the constitution, in the laws, or in government priorities. And when I talk about government priorities, look at the current government and what their priorities are, and that is how the funding for different government activities happen. So the stability depends on how entrenched, on how well established that organization or that government department is. For example, State House is very, very established. You do not expect that one day we will not have State House, okay? Think about the Ministry of Finance. We must always have it. However, there are also state corporations that are government organizations. Now, the stability of state corporations depend on the priorities of the government of the day and the role that they perform or the service that they give to the country. And so attention that the different organizations get determine their stability. Now, that said, when you are in a stable organization, then how long you last in that organization depend on you. So it's about how you perform and how you deliver the results that are expected of you, plus your behavior or your behavior in that environment. Again, there are good growth opportunities in government. Why? Because we have very long structures. You know, previously we used to have it longer, although now it's been a little bit flattened, but that's a process that has started, and going into the future, we may have it sustained as it is. I'll talk a little bit more about that in my subsequent slides. Now, in government, employees are very well trained. Why? Because different government organizations attach a lot of importance to the capacity building of their teams. So, sorry about that. There's a bit of distraction from my phone. I will put it away. Sorry about that. So in government, you find that government spends a lot of money to build the capacity of their teams. And some of the very highly seasoned employees we have in this country are actually government trained. They have the resources and therefore they're able to train them to the highest level so far and give them exposures that are very good for them in the various departments that they function in. And then government is very orderly. There are strict rules and regulations to be followed. And for that reason, anyone working in government must be willing, and not just willing, you must sign your assent to obey the rules in government. So it's important for us to acknowledge that. Now, in terms of challenges of working in the public sector, there is slow growth because of the longer structures. You come in as probably an officer, and it takes you very long before you become a manager. It could actually take you 10 years to become a manager. I know young people want to become managers very fast, but in government, it really is a difficult thing. Again, there is slow adaptation to new developments. Think about flexi time, for example. Now, that said, there is instant adaptation to executive orders. If today the president or the head of state, head of public service says, we are going to pay new tax, that is implemented at the time we have been ordered to do that. So there's a bit of a balance there, whether we want to look at it as a challenge or an opportunity is neither here nor there. Again, government is very political. When I say political, think about number 3, let's say in a job interview, getting the job and the job not going to number 1. Now that is determined by a lot of other factors, because decision-making has to be in the best interest of the country as a whole. There could be issues of diversity and inclusion about that job. There could be issues of tribal balance, or what do you call it, of balancing, ethnic balance of the country. And therefore, even number 5 could actually get a job and number 1 is left out. So there are those political issues. And by the way, looking at the word political, pick the policy aspect of it. It is a government policy that recruitment and growth opportunities be accorded all the communities that we have in the country. So that is a policy, government policy. So political in the sense that a government policy has to be adhered to. Now, decisions are made top down, and therefore we are called upon to align. And government has very many employees. You might also look at that as a challenge, because if you came in, so many of you, and remember, as people go up the organizational ladder, the opportunities reduce as you go up, because the establishment, the numbers that you're talking about go decreasing as you go up. So if the competition continues to increase, you may think that I came with whoever, we were employed with so-and-so, and they seem to have grown beyond me, maybe not because they are smarter or they work better than I do, but because probably where they come from favors them. Maybe your tribe, for example, has a high number of people, and therefore, as we look to balance that, other people tend to get more opportunities. When it comes to opportunities of working in the public sector, yes, there are opportunities with attachment as entry level. You could also come in as an intern, but then there's a complete comprehensive government program for internship that is facilitated by Public Service Commission. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. There's also opportunity in labor migration, where it's facilitated by the Ministry of Labor. And then a lot of skills development. Actually, all employers are made to develop the skills of the employees that they have as a government policy. So whether in public or private sector, that is something they all have to do as they make remittances to NITA, which is National Industrial Training Authority. Again, there's a lot of opportunity for research in the different public universities. We also have TVET, which is a technical and vocational education authority, TVETA. Then we also have entrepreneurship opportunities, which are also employment opportunities within government, looking at government GOK funds, like the youth funds, the women funds that are actually given through different financial institutions. There's also access to government procurement opportunities for those who are in business, what we call AGPO. And every state corporation, every government department is expected to give a report every quarter on how much money it has given in business to the different groups that have been identified by government for specialized attention. Again, opportunities in diversity targets within the performance contracts of every state corporation and even government departments. They are expected to have a particular balance of diversity of the different communities. And that provides an opportunity for people to work in government, even young people. Now, look at the government also as giving opportunities when retirement occurs. Every year, people go on retirement, and as people leave, there is an opportunity for those who should be incoming to succeed the ones that are leaving. In fact, recently, there's a discussion about a review of the retirement age. If that happens, then government officers or public officers would retire probably at 55. Now, that would give much more opportunities for young people to come into government employment. Some misconceptions I want to mention about. They say we are tribal. Allow me to say that it may not be true, because we are expected to have very high accountability insofar as our employment returns are concerned. And that is quarterly reports to parliamentary committees and to National Employment Authority about how many and who are in our employment. So all the HR managers or heads of HR have to give that return. Now, you don't just submit a report. You are called upon to come and explain if there are questions. So if you have sufficient ways of answering your questions or explaining your bad behavior, then you can decide to be bad-mannered insofar as the tribalism is concerned, insofar as the employment is concerned. Talk about corruption. I don't want to defend everyone who works in government. However, sorry, is somebody asking a question?
No, just
Okay.
proceed.
All right, thank you. So in terms of corruption, people say for you to get a job in public sector, you must corrupt or you must buy tenders and all that. Allow me to say those who do that are actually breaking the law. It is not the norm. It is more the exception. And therefore, allow me to also say that I personally got a job in Kengen without knowing anyone, and I didn't pay for it. I didn't buy my job, and I didn't know anyone. So it is actually possible to get those jobs. We out there say that when you see a government advert, it means you're likely to be escorting somebody. Now, allow me to also let you know that if you think like that, do me the favor of just applying, so that if you are the smarter one, then you make the panel that wants to give this job to a specific person get a bit confused, so that they get confused to say, we thought we needed to give this job to this person, however, we got a better candidate. So do not fear, apply for those jobs. Again, the idea of bureaucracy. I know governments are bureaucratic, and we think it is a bad thing. But my opinion is that the bureaucracy is observed in the context of stable policies, procedures, and systems, and that provides accountability. And it also provides protection for whoever is a decision maker in that bureaucratic process. Why I say that is a number of people have been found flat-footed when there is a mistake that has taken place. And I tell you, some of the mistakes that are made in government are very costly, because then you might find yourself in court. And remember, when you work in government, you're accountable to Wanjiko, you're accountable to the public and not just a few people in your circles. Okay. And then sometimes people think when you work in government, you can call the shots. But if you work in Kengen, can you employ my daughter? It may not be that easy. Okay. And if you work in government, your contract can also be terminated. Some people think if you work in government, it's too stable to be broken before you retire. I dare you. That may not be true. In terms of best practices on work readiness, comprehensive internship programs that go for at least 12 years. I had mentioned earlier PSC, Public Service Commission, sorry. They have a very comprehensive internship program. They receive applications from different people who are interested in internships, and then they send to us. And I'm saying us, appreciating that Kengen is a public company, but the state corporations, the different government departments, they distribute the interns to the various departments for 1 full year, and they pay a small stipend for that. Now, that is a good opportunity for young people to enhance their work readiness in the public sector, because within 1 year, surely you would have learned a lot of things insofar as public service is concerned. Graduate trainee programs are also a good channel where we have up to 18 months of training, but this happens to those that have already been employed. So in preparing them to take on their roles, we take up to 18 months to prepare them. Now, I think this still happens in other state corporations and other government organizations, and it is something that young people can take advantage of. Scholarships, either between government to government or within the organizations themselves. That is an opportunity that is very good within public service, and young people could take advantage of that. So those are good practices. Again, there are exchange programs, particularly when there is a particular focus in a certain skill area where government sends its employees to other places, let's say outside Kenya, in other countries, to go and learn, so they can come back and bring back new knowledge that they can use to enhance their performance or to enhance knowledge in a certain area the government wants to strengthen. Now, in public service also, there is study leave, sometimes paid study leave, sometimes unpaid study leave. Now, that also works into the stability of the jobs in public service, because you can be allowed, you can get an approval to go and study for, let's say, 2-3 years. You can do your master's degree, you can study whatever it is, as long as it falls within the terms and conditions, the policies that are internal. So I think this is unique, because it's very difficult to let an employee go and study, continue paying them for the period they are there, and guarantee them of their job as they come back. So I think that's not very easy to do. In terms of expectations on job stability and benefit, when people join government, they expect to retire in government, interestingly. Why? It's because of the stability of the different departments, as I had already talked about. Okay, and you realize redundancies tend to be very expensive. The last time I heard of structural adjustment programs, maybe, I don't know whether you guys had been born because you're very young. You heard about retrenchment, but that was quite some time back. It happens once in a long time. But allow me to say, it is a possibility. They happen. It may not be as often, but they still happen. So yes, there is stability, and you need to optimize on your opportunity as you work for government. In terms of benefits, I would call them normal benefits to be expected. Medical cover, group life insurance, annual salary increment may not be so normal, because I hear in some organizations you don't have that. Car loans, mortgages, yeah, good mortgages. When I say good mortgages and car loans, I'm talking about a negotiated percentage with whoever financial institutions that are engaged to give that service. I also want to acknowledge that there are many allowances in public sector. Allowance for this, allowance for that, so much. So I think those are good benefits. In terms of culture, now our culture is well entrenched in the Public Officers Ethics Act, which also follows after the Constitution 2010. Some of the behaviors expected of us within that act, it doesn't matter where you work, as long as it is a public organization or a government department or a government agency, you're expected to perform your duty to the best that you can. Professionalism is a given. You must abide by the rule of law to the extent that the Employment Act actually acknowledges that if you're arrested for a criminal offense and you do not go to work in 14 days, you should be summarily dismissed. So the rule of law is something we must adhere to. No improper enrichment, so much so that I shouldn't give you a gift on your birthday, so to speak, that I bought you a very expensive watch or perfume. I bring it to your office if I'm not related to you, you know, because I could be preparing the ground for the next demand that I want to make. So if that happens, if you work in government, then you declare that gift. I take that expensive watch, submit it to the office of the MD and CEO, have it listed or registered, so that there comes a day when all the gifts that have been given to us as employees of this company will be auctioned and people will have to buy it. Okay, so that is the standard of enrichment that is expected of a government employee. Conflict of interest, I cannot do business with Kengen because I am an employee of Kengen, okay? I'm not supposed to be a guest of honor in a harambee or collections. Take note of that. I'm not expected to act for a foreigner, and I'm supposed to care for the different property that have been given to use as I deliver my work. I am supposed to be politically neutral. It doesn't matter how much closely I feel about whichever political divide. Nepotism is a no. And if you work in government, you're supposed to give your advice where it is expected without fear or intimidation. You're not supposed to mislead the public. And you're supposed to conduct your private affairs properly. And here, allow me to share with you 3 aspects of that. Number 1, you must be able to manage your money. You're not supposed to have debts left, right, and center, because that causes pecuniary, we call it pecuniary embarrassment to the government, okay? Number 2, you're not supposed to drink of your ovio, you know, that you're getting drunk and you're being seen drunk as an employee of the government. That is a no. Or let me say drunk on drugs or on alcohol or whatever it is, because you're bringing pecuniary embarrassment to government. Number 3 that I want to share with you has to do with our responsibility to the family. For example, if you get a child out of wedlock, and this one I'm telling to our gentlemen, you're still young, yes, you're in the productive age. If you make somebody pregnant, they get your baby and you're not taking your responsibility for it, that brings pecuniary embarrassment. And what we do in public sector, as soon as whoever it is able to go to court and they get us a court order, we implement it sometimes without having to ask you about it. And that is how much we can help you, because otherwise we let you go to court. And again, for our employee to go to court to discuss issues of carelessness about their own life, their private affairs, is also embarrassing to us. So we can sack you based on that, because you're bringing embarrassment to the government and by extension, or rather the organization and by extension, the government. Sexual harassment is a no-no. When you're doing selection or recruitment of anyone, we are expected to do it above board so that it is based on merit. And then submitting of declarations, we're supposed to declare our wealth every 2 years. We're not supposed to act through others, especially when you want to advance a conflict of interest. Do not hide behind others. If something is yours, declare it is yours. And then we are supposed to report improper orders given by our supervisors. If it is not proper for you to do what your supervisor is asking you to do, you are supposed to report. So this is the set of conduct that is expected of a public officer insofar as the law is concerned. Now, allow me to also say that there are people who find their ways around this set of rules and conduct. And for that, where they are caught, they are taken to jail. And I believe you have seen a lot of people, it doesn't matter their stature in the society, they've been taken to court, they've been paraded in court and asked to defend themselves as far as some of these things are concerned. So this is what is expected. And then I said, kwa ground, ukikuja kwa ground, government is traditional. We have a low flexibility. For example, my pet subject of flexi time, it's not been implemented in many government organizations, even though there was the best opportunity to do that during COVID. But we are back to our traditional ways. Again, we are formalized. From your haircut to your shoes is regulated. If you work in government, there are certain shoes you never bring to the office. There's a certain dress code you never bring to the office. Certain references, the way we refer to each other, and especially those who are in authority, we do not use first names for our bosses in government. That is the culture. Now, policy and rule enforcement is very strict. We go by policy. If something is not in policy, we find a way of entrenching it in policy, and then we enforce it. Now, in government, we reward based on rank. And of course, recently there are discussions about how to then create parallel grading structures in such a way that people can still go up the ladder without having a portfolio of a big team that they are leading. So those are good discussions, but where we are right now, we still reward based on rank. Our competition as employees is pretty much external, more than internal. So we compete like employer of the year awards. We go out there, we collect awards, fire awards, okay? And I think this last one is very important in terms of culture. You realize that cues are more important to you when you work in government than openness. Less people or few people will tell you openly that, you know, I do not like how you behave, or I do not like how you do this and that, but they give you cues. So it's up to you to be able to read in between the lines when you work in government. I've observed actually when you go out there and sometimes somebody showers so much praise on you, you start wondering, oh, do they actually mean it? And that's important for you to, you know, be able to pick some of those cues. Maybe they're communicating something. So it's an environment where people give you some coded communication as opposed to, you know, directly coming to tell you, you did this, we don't like it, and this is what we're going to do for you, and all that. In terms of leveraging, identifying and leveraging networking, I would like to advise that you prepare your quiver. I believe you know what a quiver is. Your competitive edge, what is that sets you apart from the different job seekers, okay? And sharpen that so well, and then be able to speak up and speak up to the right people, okay? Now, when you find yourself with the right people, please be present. Do not be in a place and enjoy to tell your friends that, you know, today I went for a drink with the MD of whichever government parastatal, when you did not reach out to greet them and to tell them about yourself. It does not benefit you. okay? And I like to tell young people that networking is not just meeting someone and having coffee or seeing somebody in the same room as you are and saying, you know, I had a drink today with, I don't know, whichever MD or whichever director or whoever. But networking is about making other people see you, get to know you. They see you, they get to know you, they get to know what you bring to the table. And you must find a way of being able to follow up that, to see whether you can see them, get an opportunity to talk to them or to discuss with them or to sell an idea to them. But that means you must therefore show off what you can do, show what you are made of, and do not miss opportunities to volunteer where possible. Offer yourself, be seen, be felt, be heard, and let people remember you. And therefore, that which sets you apart for me is the most important thing. What is your competitive advantage? Okay. In terms of, I don't know that I'm going too long, but I will try. In terms of staying adaptable and open to opportunities, please check adverts, whether they are physical or soft. Go and check the adverts for jobs. Check the websites of the organizations that you would like to work for. But more importantly, respond to those adverts. Respond, because checking and not responding does not help you. But Public Service Commission, please log on to their website, log into their job seekers portal, put your details there, because they recruit for the whole of government. So please, if you are interested in working for government, your details should be with Public Service Commission. And it doesn't matter how long it takes. Imagine they communicate, they call you for interviews, and when they call you for interviews, their recruitment is very stable. Enhance your competence, be adaptable, be flexible, diversify your skills, do something extra. Do not be ordinary. I would like to discourage you from being ordinary. So have something extra that you work on that becomes your competitive advantage. If you can, start your business, because there are opportunities for you in that regard. Further advice, keep tabs on developments in the target interest. When I say target interest, is the government department that you probably desire to work with, or sector. Keep tabs, get to know what's going on there. What are the new opportunities upcoming? What's happening? Which one is growing? Which one is going down? Take whatever opportunity arises in those areas. As I'd said, be ready to start from the entry level. And strategic networking, I talked about networking, attend conferences, trade fairs, and express your interest, okay? Different skills, I have enlisted them there, but you realize that employers are not looking for so much. A lot of the times employers look for the attitude, a positive attitude, a teachable spirit, a learning attitude. So as long as you have the basic technical skills, when I say technical skills, I mean whichever the knowledge area you have studied, get your basics in that. And the rest is actually soft skills, as you can see, integrity, diligence, whatever. But be teachable, be open to learn, and you'll receive a lot of support from the various employers. What government organizations can do to promote work-life balance, in my view, it's all about policies, programs, and budget, because nothing in government happens without it being entrenched in policy. So young women have provisions for women-specific facilities like mothers' facilities, intentional diversity mainstreaming, meaning what I've been talking about earlier, the employment returns. If the population of the different tribes in Kenya are in XYZ framework, then recruiting or having your employees in that fashion, in that kind of balance, is important to allow other people to also get in and get opportunities. Acceleration programs for young talent, for me, is a big deal, because it takes so long for young people to grow to high decision-making levels in government. However, I would promote this, knowing that this is not something that would happen for all the young people. But when there is a formula of identifying the talent and very talented young people, then there could be programs to be able to accelerate them, to build their capacity, to season them up quickly so that they can immediately take on leadership roles and be able to grow up the ladder. Okay, entry points in career paths in government include internship, graduate trainees, contractors. When I say contractors, I mean suppliers of different services that have been outsourced for the different government departments or agencies. So if you happen to get an opportunity to work with a contractor, it gets easier to work, let's say, with Kenya Power or with Kengen, because by then you will have known the trade. You'll have known how Kengen does its business, although through a contractor. Now, entry level or entry points in the different career paths include crafts, which at the moment is in grade 12. By the way, when I say grade 12, across government, go to Kenya Power, go to Kengen, go to whichever government organization you know, a craftsman or a craft certificate holder will enter in grade 12. Assistants are diploma holders, or there could be technicians. Those enter at grade 10 across government, because this has now been harmonized. You go to the ministries, you enter at grade 10. If you come to state corporations, grade 10. Again, for degree holders, you enter at grade 7, and the cadres are the different trades that we have. You can be an officer of whatever nature, maybe HR officer, ICT officer, whichever. You can be an accountant, you can be an engineer, a scientist, all cadres, but you come in at grade 7. So allow me to also let you know that entry level is grade 7, MD is at grade 1. So in between 7 through to 6. So through to grade 2. 2 is the general managers or directors in other organizations. 3, you have managers like that. So entry is grade 7, and the different career paths are taken care of. In terms of navigating bureaucracy in government and civil service regulations, my friends, allow me to state that the bureaucracies are good, because those policies have been thought through. They are to protect you and to protect whoever the decision maker. So be positive, be patient, follow the rules. It will help everyone so that you don't land in problems and you don't cause problems for other people. Basic application of your knowledge area, I think I've talked about this. If you're coming to work in government, just have a positive attitude. Be teachable. We will teach you how to do reprographics. Those are things you can learn in a day. For now, allow me to stop it there. Thank you for listening. I think I've been talking a lot. Feels like I'm talking alone, but anyway, thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Eva. That has really been insightful. I didn't know that 50% of the employees in government are below 40 years. I just thought that, like everyone says, they are old people. Yes, thank you so much. That has been very informative. And just a reminder to us that there is an event form on the chat box. Kindly ensure that you fill it and follow .Kenya on their social media platforms. Yeah, she has told us one thing, that apply for those jobs. Do not shy away. Do not say that there is already someone that has been shortlisted and that this job has already been put aside for someone. She has told us about the opportunities that are there. She has told us about the best practices. And we as the young people, let's not just sit, let's apply for these job opportunities, let's search for these job opportunities and apply for them. Thank you so much, Eva. And I'll welcome Gabriel Nyamu, who will briefly give us his presentation. Gabriel works in the private sector and he will give us his presentation from a private sector perspective. Karibu, Gabriel Nyamu. Gabriel, you're on mute. You are on mute.
Sorry. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. Go on.
All right, sorry. Good, all right. Sorry, thank you for that. Thank you, Bridget. Thank you, Eva, for sharing your experience in the public sector. There's quite a lot of similarity within the public and private sector. I'm going to try take maybe not more than 10 minutes. So you'll allow me if I probably run fast, but I hope at least I'm able to drive some points home. So as I said, my experience has been mostly in the private sector, but I've also consulted for the government as a consultant. So I got employed for 13 years in the banking and insurance sector, but today I also consult for governments and various parastatals. So I think I'll start by a very different tangent, because as a coach, I believe in mindset. You can go as far as your mindset allows you. So, and most opportunities are not there just because our might have disallowed us to see them. And that's why you'll find people graduating the same day with the same qualification, and one will take a different path, another one take a different path. And I just want to ask a question. What do you see on my screen here? Just a quick test. Maybe you could put it on chat. I'll just allow maybe 3 or 2 comments. What do you see on the chat? Anyone seen something? I told, hey, glog or flog. Thank you. What else? All right, a flog. Good, thank you. I think that's good. At least we can see something. I think that's the answer. Let me tell you, I think what I have seen largely in this market is the frame of your worldview in terms of what you see largely determines a lot the opportunity you're going to leverage. And if I tilt this to just pivot it upside down, you'll see something different. I think there's one person who have already commented a horse. The first time I projected it, you didn't see a horse, you saw a frog, because there's a way our mind creates frames, and those frames help us interpret. They become like a dictionary to interpret reality. And that's why you find people complaining, let's say, for example, there is no employment, but there are those still who are getting the jobs. People who are saying the economy is hard, and there are people actually making it during that time. It all depends on the mindset. And I think I want to qualify that even at this earlier stage. So your mindset is very important on how you approach the workplace. If you're coming from campus and getting to the employment, and you go with the same mindset of a student, then you'll be seeing your manager and your CEO as another lecturer. And the relationship between you and the lecturer, and the relationship between you and a boss or a manager or a supervisor or a CEO is completely different out there. And that's very important. So with that in mind, I want just to talk about that worldview. So question is for you here, even before I share some experiences in the corporate space. What are you looking for? That's a mindset issue. Are you looking for a job, or are you looking for work? I know I may need a whole 1 or 2 hour session just to dissect these two different facets. If you're looking for a job, most likely just looking for just accomplishing tasks, which are all in that job description somewhere, mostly just to earn a living, meaning just for survival. Most jobs has a retirement. That's why you'll be confined within a retirement age of 55 or 60 years currently. That's a job. It's mostly employer directed. That means the employer creates the environment and the structure for that job. But on the other side, if you're really looking for work is beyond employment. So if you're looking for work, it's a bit different. It's missionally motivated, it's redemptive, impact-led. It's mostly a lifetime engagement you're looking for, where the employer just become a partner in a certain space. And I'm saying this because of what is happening currently. Work is more collaborative. You're not just self-centered yourself. You're dealing with others to co-create some certain value. Why am I bringing this? Is very important. I know we are all eager to get employed, but on the other side, you'll find that majority of people who are also in employment are also again dealing with another challenge of fulfillment. There's a story I always give, and maybe I'm going to repeat here. When I was 3 years in employment, we did a retrenchment. We were laying off 104 employees. I was in charge of benefits, meaning I was the one who was calculating benefits for ex-employees when they were leaving. And I interviewed people who had worked for even 27 years, 30 years. And I remember one person who had served for 27 years, sat on my desk as a HR person that time, and she was taking home a lot of money. She actually, this is back in 2007, she was taking home more than 15 million. She had served for 27 years, and all children were already off. We call it an empty nest. All children actually were working abroad. She was a landlord. She lived in the top 2 estate in Nairobi. She had everything you could think about. And she sat on my desk after 27 years of work, and she was taking home a nice package. She told me, Gabriel, I still feel I'm going home empty. I looked at that and I'm like, okay, I thought you are an adult. You can afford a holiday anywhere in the world. Your children actually working abroad. You are taking home almost 20 million. You are driving a 4-wheel. You are living in the top 2 estates in Kenya. You have lunches of farming, hundreds of acres. What does success mean? And that's why I started my journey of purpose coaching. So I like just to give you a proposition array enough that be careful that you don't end up into a roller coaster sometimes of just securing a job and then so what? That's the biggest question. And it's a dilemma that I know we all know about. Many people who are already working still are struggling with finding meaning in what they do. And if you don't find meaning, what happens is that you become unfulfilled. And as much as you may appear like you're succeeding, at the end of the day, you don't have that fulfillment within you. It's a very critical. That's why I always say there's a certain purpose that you have that you need to dispense to impact people on the planet. That's how I'll summarize that kind of a pace setting. But I just talk about employment reality in the private sector. We know private sector as a sector that is more profit-led. But currently things are changing qua ground. Things are changing a lot. We've discovered that for sustainability of the impact that we produce in the market as corporates, as business owners, I run quite a number of businesses as well. You cannot just focus on profit. It is not the end by itself. Profit helps you multiply impact and to sustain that impact. Now, in the private sector, I think I'll maybe start with what is like everyone or every employer's desire. So I'll use this Japanese image. So on one side is a business, and that is the employer. And the employer is looking for, I want to have the right people, we have the right competencies at the right time, in the right numbers to support my current and the future needs. So I'm giving you like a Kenya or just a hint of this is what employer is looking largely. So are you an employer who is helping? Are you an employee, who is helping me meet my current and future business objectives? What does that mean then? If you are not aligned to the business objectives, then you almost become then irrelevant. And that's why the first thing when you join a private sector, try understand their business strategic objective. Of course, understand their purpose, their mission, their vision, their value. Those are very good. We call them the organizational DNA or the blueprint. But beyond that, try to understand the strategic objectives. If you know the objectives and then you align yourself, you are likely to be relevant all the times. On the other side, you have you as an individual, as an employee who have specific goals. And everybody wants to be wildly successful. Wildly means limitless. You want to be wildly successful in your career within the available opportunity of an organization. Now, we end up dealing with a pendulum then, because this is a pendulum where there's organizational focus, and then you as an employee, you have your personal individual focus. So how do you balance these two? That's the critical dilemma for us today. I'm going maybe to share some of the things that will be helpful in this. But before I share some of the insight on what is happening in the private sector, let me share some global outlook, which I know mostly we have read in various journals. It's 7% of workers are unhappy in the world, yet that's where you want to join. Sorry, I'm just trying to position this so that you get the right mindset. The same workplace is having people who are complaining every day, complaining of bad bosses, complaining they are not growing, they are not promoted. But at one time, the same people were looking forward for a job. They were looking for employment. So I want us just to delink just from just looking for a job. That's one stage, being employable, but remaining fulfilled is completely a different game changer altogether. And it's more have to do with yourself as a potential talent. 60% of institutional learning, we all know, sometimes they are not ready to prepare us for a job. That means sometimes the skills we get in university may not necessarily be 100% what the employer is looking for. We know we have that kind of a gap. We have a new emergence of disruptive technologies through AI, which is disrupting. So right now, an employer, especially in the corporate space where we are very, very, very adaptive to technology. A technology comes today and tomorrow, most organizations are already embracing it. So question is, as an employer, I'm evaluating, do I hire a human being? Do I get a system that can do the work? And that's the big question that every corporate, especially the business world, is struggling with today. So then, of course, as I said, we are also moving away from profit to purpose, where we are saying, can we build a shared prosperity within our organizational mandate? So a few other things. More than 40% of the people who are employed are planning to leave. And this is from Microsoft Work Trend Index. At the same time, employers or employees feel that their employers are not supporting their personal life purpose. That means you are born to execute some certain mandate. Is the employer supporting you? So you can see 85% of companies are not necessarily interested in your personal life purpose. Now, by that itself is because of where we are in the world. We are in an industry we call Industry 4.0, and this is very important, right, to understand. We know back several centuries ago, we used to have what we call the first industrial revolution, and that time we were having water as a resource. Then later we discovered electricity and magnetism. We started having mass production powered by electricity. We went into the third industrial revolution where some of us were born, where we discovered a computer, and after computer, we got a way of automating information and processing that information electronically. And this was one of the most disruptive age. But now, and that's also where we discover the Internet of Things, where I know most of us, that's where we have leveraged our knowledge from. But now we are in the fourth industrial revolution, where we are no longer in the information age, we are in what we call knowledge age or intelligent age. What does that mean? You have also to become a knowledge worker. So if there's something that you can take away home, you have to be a knowledge worker. The reason why the previous regime succeeded is because you graduated from university and almost there's a job ready for you. And you'll go into that job just to fill in, the position and vacancies, and you can retain that as long as you're not having disciplinary issues, you're not having serious poor performance. Today, that has slowly been disrupted. We are now looking for intelligence. So we are saying, I'm hiring you, but show me the evidence of intelligence that you're bringing on board to the organization that will help me perform better as a company. So you have to be a knowledge worker, and that's why innovation becomes a very critical thing. Businesses are no longer looking for just somebody to sustain a system. We hire you because there's a system or operations or processes that are there, and you need to sustain it. Why? Is because we are having disruptions that are happening almost every day. The traditional system used to have disruptions were happening every 4 years. We moved to a year. We moved to around 6 months. Today, actually, it's almost real time. By the time I started this presentation, maybe by now, which is hardly 6-7 minutes, probably there's something that has happened in the world. So that fast-paced kind of disruptive adaptability is a critical requirement in the private sector. And therefore, you'll find so many things that are being enforced right now, things like big data and analytics. And I would encourage all of us, especially those who are joining the employment, kindly go online. There are so many platforms you can go and do self-study. Go to Udemy, go to Coursera, go to Arison, LinkedIn Learning. All these are e-learning platforms that you can do some short courses on something like, data science, big data and analytics. They are going to be a big changer. My company does also executive hires and also recruiting as part of HR services. We actually do assessment for data competency for many companies in Kenya and also in the wider almost 7 countries within Africa, where before you are given a job, you are told, we send you for an assessment. Are you data literate? Regardless of whether you are joining as a HR, a sales, a marketer, or any other role. So you need to have that data literacy is very critical for you to be able to remain relevant. Of course, I talked about AI. Maybe you'll have another conversation to go deeper into that. So with this, it means then that as we prepare to work for smart workplace, we also need to be smart talent. I think that's something that we need to think through. Let me just talk about some kind of paradigm shifts that are required in the private sector. Number one, we are no longer looking for qualification. So I know you beef up your CV very well and you put all the qualifications you've done, and sometimes you win an interview, which is okay because the professional branding will take you to the door. But to retain that and to be competitive, you have to start building portfolio. I'm looking for one day where I don't have to say what I have studied. I don't have to say my qualifications, but I can tell you what I have done. We call that portfolio based. So if you're building a CV, let it be portfolio based. And this actually negates the issue of experience. Many graduates will say, oh, we are being forced to have experience. No, if you can showcase your portfolio, whether it was voluntary, there's something that you did and you achieved, that's become your portfolio. It actually has more weight than just the qualification, especially in the private sector. I don't know whether you know that Google and Facebook, there's a 6 months program that they released, I think around 2019, that actually is almost equivalent to a degree. More than half of their developers have no degree in computer science. Why? So they are more focused on the knowledge than just the qualification itself. There's also the social capital issue, which is a dynamic in the private sector. Initially, we used to even reward things like how many years of service you have worked. Now, corporates right now, they are shifting towards knowledge capital. I want to reward the impact. You can work for me 1 year, but you have produced a lot of impact. But the earlier one is where if you attain 7 years, 10 years of experience, 15 years, we celebrate you. I know we still do with it, but it's kind of not very much emphasized. You'll find somebody who served you only 2 years, but they give a lot of value and impact. That is more appreciated. That's part of knowledge capital than just the social capital aspect. Initially, you just need to be an accountant or a finance or a marketer. Currently, you are required to be cross-functional. You need to know beyond just what you have studied or your area, what you call domain knowledge. You have to go build your domain knowledge and understand how business works in a more wide breadth than just a specialization. Yes, be good at what you are good at, but allow it, build cross-functional skills that are beyond your area. Now, most organizations are no longer more focused on local presence. Even if you find a company seated here, it's already doing some services in Canada, in Singapore, in Dubai, and all that. So you as an employee, you also have to have that global resource mindset, that you are not local. Don't just quote for me what works in Kenya. No, because I have clients across the divide. So you need to have that globalized mindset that is able to see beyond just your local geography. So we are no longer just confined within a geography. Learning initially was more organizational led, where the boss or your manager set for you a learning path and then tell you are going to learn this and this and this. Currently, we're in a more very democratic space where the learning is more self-directed. So if you're waiting for somebody to tell you to go to class and learn a new skill, you might wait forever. So as opposed maybe to some other sectors where you kind of are being told what to do. In the private sector, mostly it's self-directed learning, and it must be lifetime, meaning it does not end because you have a job. As I said, I think I talked about this. You are not hired to sustain a system, an operational system. You are hired to kind of also bring some sense of innovation-driven disruption and continuous adaptability in the market. There's no guaranteed promotion in the private sector. You can work for 20 years as a clerk with no promotion. There's no guarantee because promotion is more self, meaning it is performance driven. Don't misquote me. Doesn't mean that you just promote it. But question is, if you want to become a director, behave as one right now. So start showing competencies, characteristics, taking initiative as of now, even without a title. There's that book called A Leader Without a Title. I think it's something that I would recommend for you. It applies so much in the private sector. Don't wait for somebody to really come and promote you. Mostly it's you have to take initiatives. You have actually to demonstrate you have the maturity to take up more new responsibility ahead. When it comes to rewards, you'll find traditionally, you'll find what you call rank-based reward. Just because you're a certain level, there are some rewards you activate or incentives you activate. In the private sector, you find like, okay, increasingly, we have what you call performance-led incentives. I have known of companies that are even paying a lot of bonus that actually is more than your annual pay. Why? Because it's a shared prosperity. So if it's a profit-led organization, they're going to say, we have made 10 billion, you have been part of this, we want to share 1 billion, and you can take home. I know of a company in Kenya where you'll find managers even getting bonuses of more than 30 million in 1 year, which is actually more than your total gross pay accumulated for the whole year, because they're trying to reward the value that you have contributed in the organization. So I don't want to delay by this because I have 3 minutes to close, but some of the skill sets that are more demanded in the corporate space, especially in the private, are things like the social and emotional intelligence, because you're dealing with the people, agility and adaptability, because disruptions are happening every day. What you knew yesterday, today may be irrelevant. Transdisciplinarity in terms of cross-functional competencies, our design mindset. I will recommend to go and maybe study something called design thinking skills. Why? Is because you're supposed to join an employer to help the employer solve some problems, solve some challenges. You require design thinking skills. I know of some companies where they will even do psychometry assessments on ability to solution, meaning the design thinking aspect. Collaboration, you need to know kind of how to collaborate with others. Data science, or maybe data evidence-based decision making, is a critical skill set. And all the others, I think digital skills, and I appreciate the dot here because they are driving the digital adaptability, which is very important. But you may focus on getting a job, but how do you grow? When you join as an employer, mostly you are kind of a beginner who is exploring things. You're exploring to learn the company, learn about the product and the services, and you're very curious. But after some, maybe 1 year or so, you start mastering. We call you a mastery challenger. Now, after that, we expect then you start producing, which may happen maybe around 1.5 years, especially if you're fresher, maybe to 2 years or 3 years there. Now, later, of course, you become an influencer and you start growing leadership. However, there's a catch. Between mastery challenger and yielding expert, we always witness exits. This is just a preamble. We may have another session to talk about this. It's the dynamics of career growth. So most people exit their jobs just after being a mastery challenger, and there are reasons for that. But take caution as we discover these kind of trends. Some big organizations, they have a trap, and I call it a transactional skew. I'll give you an example. You can be hired by a multinational bank and you're taken to a check clearing, people who do check clearance. When you deposit a check, you're doing clearance. And then you end up yourself as a maybe payment clearance officer, just as an example. And your work is just very transactional, just clearing checks. Now, there's a trap there. Why? That clearance of check may not necessarily be so much transferable out there. And if you form your career in that transaction, if you happen to be laid off, for example, lose that job, there is no checks to go and stamp on the career in the estate or in the village. And therefore, we call that non-transferability of skills. And you'll be very careful. This is the reason why I always advise, I prefer working for small organization at the early stage of the career. Why? Because if you're working for a small organization, you can be exposed into almost all areas, sales, marketing, HR, finance, all together. But if you work for a big organization, most of the time, you get what you call an big organization trap, and you can end up just specializing on a very redundant task that is not transferable in terms of the skills. You can also get organizations that are not really purpose-led, and therefore, it can have a dissonance with your own personal purpose. As I said in the beginning, you have your individual purpose to fulfill. You should be looking for a company to partner with that kind of give you the environment to dispense your purpose as you perform for that organization. And it's always good to be able to check that, especially in the culture side. If you find there's a dissonance, I always advise, try exploring where you can be able to fit in an organization that gives you a chance to expedite yourself. If you're a poor performer, we also don't tolerate that because, again, we are so much performance-driven. You risk redundancy or maybe amputation of growth where you miss promotions and therefore you see other people who even joined before you, after you, getting to become your boss if you're not performing. So my part in short is that you need to have purpose-led career as the way to go because you need to earmark why you are getting the job. And I say there's a difference between the job and work. When you get a job will give you survival. You'll earn a living, you'll pay bills, you'll be sustenance, and also what people call a hustle, even if you start a business. But then you need to move to a level we call engagement, where you're more productive, there is growth, there's performance, and kind of you can support your ecosystem. But the ultimate is to go into the inner circle, which is purple, where you're doing something that fulfills you, that is a legacy that you can leave behind, that promote your well-being, and that is redemptive for others. To get that inner circle is where you get the enjoyment. And that level, there is no unemployment. You can only be unemployed because of a job or skill mismatch. But in terms of your life purpose, it is very hard for somebody to take it from you because you are born for it. You need to discover it and live it. So doing anything that is just for survival denies you the opportunity to dominate and have impact in the world that you are living in, which is very fast-paced. So I know you know the Ikigai as my parting shot. Ikigai is just a Japanese terminology of meaning. I don't mean that this is purpose, no. Meaning and purpose are two different things we can talk about in another session. But at least sometimes when you're getting into the job market, you might be confronted with this reality. There's what you are good at. That's something that, of course, you can do very well. There's what you love, which is more intersection around your passion. There's what the world needs, and there's what you can be paid for. Sometimes you might get a dilemma because of this. But I usually say it doesn't matter where you begin your career. You can, some of us, myself, I started by what I can be paid for, and I was good at it. That's profession. But at least now I can say I'm living my purpose in terms of doing actually what I was meant to do in my life. Try to position your career, regardless whether you're going to private or public sector or NGO world, allowed your purpose, including your study. Don't just do another master's or a PhD. I have people doing their third PhD and they're still confused. People doing their fourth master, they're still confused because if what you're studying is not aligned to your purpose, you will always finish and then still feel empty again, and you have to go and start pursuing something else. So I want to add there maybe, but as I wind up, the opportunities for getting coaches in the private sector, there are some companies that are very careful that when you join today, by tomorrow you're given a coach. That's very helpful because it's going to help you succeed. That becomes your success partner. There are also places where you get mentorship programs in most of the private sector, and there are some that actually become a sponsor. And I'm using that word carefree. The sponsor is not the sponsor we know in the young people world, not that. But private sector is very keen on sponsorship. Sometimes they sponsor what you can do, but also that is aligned to helping you realize self-actualize yourself, but also perform in your job. So I want to park there. Always do a SWOT analysis to be able to identify your strength, weakness, threats, and opportunities, because that's how then you can be able to know what areas of improvement you require a sponsor, a mentor, and also a coach. So thank you so much for listening to me. I think I'll park there so that I don't belabor so much, but I'll be available in the Q&A session to dissect on some particular specific areas. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. I agree with you that it is important for us, the young people, to look for online courses and study because it contributes to our professional and personal development as well. So I also agree with you that it's important for the young people, once they get into organization, it's important that they get to learn the organizational culture. Yes, so that you don't get to a workplace and you are all over the place. It's good to understand the organizational structure and the culture. I also think one thing I have picked from this session is the importance of equipping ourselves with transferable skills. So which will enable you to maneuver the various employment sectors and the various workplaces. Because if you have skills that are not transferable, then that means you'll be stuck in one job, which mostly maybe is not giving you the value, where you feel bored, where you feel you become even redundant. Thank you so much. Our third speaker is Ms. Patricia Awori. Please, Patricia, over to you for your presentation.
Thank you, Bridget. All right. Let me just put this on presentation mode. Kindly confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. We can see your screen.
Perfect. So my fellow panelists, the ones who have gone before, Eva and Gabriel, have mostly gone through also what I was responding to in terms of questions, but I will just do an overview and also a summary on the same, on what it takes, to build a career in 2023. All right. So the talent and employment landscape has changed over the years, and more recently we have seen trends in terms of use of AI, as Gabriel has mentioned, and automation, use of skill-based hiring, as opposed to, the traditional, educational qualification route. So we're looking to more of what have you done, or what skills do you possess? Gabriel has mentioned, what's your portfolio? Yeah, so it's things like these that are taking forefront, but also just the ability or the initiative for candidates and career builders in this case, who are looking to, or rather who need to seek to upskill themselves to remain relevant in the industry. All right, so these are some of the aspects or facets I will be looking at in the employment and talent landscape. I'll be responding to the aspect of essential skills and competencies that people should have, or in this case, career builders and job seekers should have. How do employers manage or seek to achieve a work-life balance in their companies? In terms of job searching, what are some of the ways you can go about it? What are the key criteria? What should you be on the lookout for? At the same time, I think with recent graduates and also other people who are young in the career may wonder, how do I go about networking? So I will also be looking at that. And lastly, as part of the essential skills, I will look more into adaptability as a skill, and also close out with the culture and values that different organizations possess in the different sectors. But my fellow panelists, I think, have spoken about the culture and values vastly, so I will just do a high-level brush through on that. So let's talk about, the essential competencies that career builders should have. Some of them that you need to look at or be keen to enlighten yourself on, or for you to practice, is good communication skills. So this goes beyond just writing and written and verbal communication, but also active listening, ability to share feedback, ability to demonstrate professionalism in your communication. All these are necessary and important skill for you to thrive in the career space currently. The other aspect we can look at is leadership skills. All right, you do not have to be a manager to say you possess leadership skills, or you may not have to have led a team before to say that you possess leadership skills. So in this aspect, we're looking at leadership skills in the space of just being initiative, ability to support others in your team, ability to delegate if you feel your plate is too full. So just that consciousness to see, okay, this workload is a lot. I need to share some of this work to someone who doesn't have much on their plate. The other thing is decision making, motivation, etc., and things like that. Another important competence that we need to have is teamwork. So no man is an island. Of course, we work in collaboration. We work together as a team to achieve a desired goal. So in this case, you need to demonstrate that you are capable of working in a team setting. In most interviews, you may be asked, what are some of the ways, or rather, how did you contribute to a project that led to its successful completion? So this in turn will bring out will showcase your ability to work with a team, in a team, to achieve a desired goal at the end of the day. The other aspect is on time management. As cliche as it may sound, time management is very paramount in terms of making sure that you meet deadlines. And meeting deadlines can be evaluated at an early stage in the recruiting process, for when probably you are given an assessment to complete, and then you do not complete it at the stipulated deadline. That shows how you as a candidate, or as a prospective candidate, will be able to meet deadlines in the workplace. All right. So just some of those small things of task prioritization, organization will set you up for efficiency at work. The other skill that is key, that employers are more keen on today, is problem solving. So this shows your ability to break down a matter, to analyze it and critically think of a solution around it. So this will show an employer or the hiring manager that, hey, this person actually seems like they are able to take on a challenge and also quickly think on their feet and make informed decisions on the matter. Work ethics is another important aspect. This is, in other words, you can call it professionalism and integrity. So just being able to do the right thing, just being in what do we call it? Adhering to rules and regulations of the company or the policies of the company you're working for. The other thing would be adaptability, and I'll look at this in detail in the next slide, but adaptability is just the attitude to be open to change, the flexibility to manage shifting priorities, and things like that. Technical skills, on the other hand, it's good to be updated, especially for the digital space and the tech development space. It's important to really refine and upgrade your technical skills as things are changing rapidly in that industry, but also I'd call them a bit softer skills for day-to-day work. However, they're still technical. So that is computer literacy or digital literacy, ability to just use the computer and be able to communicate effectively using the cliche Word Office package, but also other collaboration tools. All right, so then you may ask, how do you stay adaptable? I think Gabriel said, what is your worldview? This strongly ties to your growth mindset, okay? So you need to and culture yourself to personal development, take initiative to develop yourself. Take initiative to take on learning courses. I think I've seen someone in the chat one asking, which are those learning platforms that are available. That is a good initiative to just follow up and ask, because you are taking the initiative to develop yourself. How else can you remain adaptable? Stay informed. All right, youths are encouraged to stay updated with the technological advancements, industry trends, with whatever industry you're in, if it's finance, if it's HR, if it's engineering, whichever it is, stay updated in your industry. Develop transferable skills. I think also this was mentioned by my fellow panelists. So I won't go through that. Again, network proactively. So build and maintain a strong professional network. I will talk about how you're going to go, how you can go about this. Also, we need to remain flexible and open-minded. This is being open to new career paths and opportunities. I think things have radically changed from the traditional ways of working currently. So we need to be open-minded and also be able to see opportunities that are before us or that are in the future. Of course, continuously upgrade your skills. This is continuous learning, as I've mentioned before, but also lastly, seek diverse experiences. So we encourage candidates and youths to pursue internships, part-time job, volunteer opportunities, whatever it may be, so that you can have a feel of these different industries and different roles and see if that is something you may want to do long-term, or if it's something you may want to get into. All right, so the other aspect we can look at then is, how do you go about job searching? How do you effectively research and target job opportunities? So the first thing you need to do is define your goals. Clarify your career goals by just identifying where you're seeing yourself or what type of job you're seeking. What are your interests? What are your skills? What are you competent in? And things like that. Second thing, you need to update your resume and cover letter. This goes without saying that for every job you apply, you need to tailor your resume and your cover letter, of course, to meet the job requirements or the role expectations according to the job description. Tap into your network. Again, from the networks you have formed, you can get job leads. You can ask them to recommend you for the roles they hear of or opportunities they hear of. And of course, use online platforms like LinkedIn, to connect with professionals in your field and also generally in the field of work. All right, to utilize job online boards for like for example, Fuzu, others are like Writer Monday and company websites, just to research and see what opportunities are available in the market in the moment. All right. Also research the company. Okay. So research the company's value, the company's missions, the company's culture. All right, to see if these are things you can align yourselves to, or something that you would want to work, or a culture that you'd like to work into. Again, with this research, you are able to tailor your interest and your application, to align with the company's objectives and mission. All right. The seventh thing then you should do is prepare for the interviews. Practice common questions that you may have. Of course, look for any questions that you will ask the interviewer or the hiring manager in this case. But of course, also shows that you are you have gone ahead to research about the company, and you are, zealous and enthusiastic about joining the company to an extent that you know most about it just by preparing for the interview. All right. Stay organized. What does this mean? Keep track of the jobs you apply for, including any deadlines. If there are assessments you need to do, you need to keep track of this. If there are any follow-up actions, you also need to keep track of this. All right. And lastly, job seeking is not easy. Job searching is not easy. So stay persistent and stay proactive. All right. So I will take you also briefly onto how you can identify and also leverage networking opportunities. How do you network, or where do you start? If you're looking for a network, I think the easiest place to start off is the alumni network. All right. So this is from your previous school, previous college, or previous university, any professional body or course you have done. Tap into that alumni network. Because they will, give you purview of any events, any reunions, any professional development sessions that may be available. All right. The other thing, or rather the other way you can leverage or identify a networking platform is through professional associations. Think of accountants, they have the ISPAC. Think of HR specialists, they have the IHRM, So all these and other professional associations and organizations usually organize trainings, they organize events, workshops, seminars, and networking sessions for their members. I think also Digital Opportunity Trust, can fall here in terms of providing opportunities for these workshops. And through them, then you're able to network with my fellow panelists, you're able to network with fellow, people on the call and things like that. The other way is through online platforms. Utilize LinkedIn, utilize Instagram. There are employers who are also utilizing Instagram, utilize Twitter, utilize Facebook. All these platforms, join groups in these platforms, that are professional groups that you can follow and be updated on any industry events, any industry workshops and things like that. All right. So again, there are also professional development workshop and seminars, such as this one provided by DOT Kenya. So attend similar workshops and seminars. Through them, you're able to learn, you're able to share knowledge, and you're able to build your career in that way. And lastly, if you're out of work, or even during your part-time, you can volunteer and take part in some community initiatives. So in this way, you are able to get hands-on experience, but also able to tap into field that is new, that you are probably interested, but needed to get a feel of. All right. In terms of organizational cultures and values, here I have mostly compared the private and the public sector. But again, my fellow panelists have well spoken into the different cultures that they have. So I will just high level talk about organizational structure and how then career builders can align themselves to this. So we mentioned in the public sector, it's mostly hierarchical. Well, the private sector, is more decentralized and it has more flexibility as opposed to the public sector. All right. So how then do you align yourself with this culture? All right. Research and understand the structure of the organization you aspire to work with. All right. Familiarize yourself with its decision-making processes. All right. And then thereafter develop skills like the adaptability we talked about to thrive in either structure. All right. So depending whichever the sector, we need to be adaptable. If you find yourself in the private sector, you need to adapt. If you find yourself in the public sector, you need to adapt as well. The work environment, as the second aspect, is mostly for public sector. It mostly emphasizes on stability. There's a lot of job security, as Eva mentioned earlier in the call. While contrary to the private sector, the environment is very dynamic, very fast-paced. It's very innovative. I think for those who have had the privilege of working in the private sector, you will see the level of innovations and the levels of goal-oriented that this sector is. All right. And also, as Gabriel mentioned, it's very profit-making based. All right. So how then do you align yourself to these work environments? Okay. So first you need to identify which environment can you mostly thrive in. Okay. So then after identifying that, then you need to develop skills that are valued in both sectors. And most of these are transferable skills like effective communication, problem solving, teamwork. All right. The other aspect we can look at is in terms of culture is on rewards and incentives. As Eva mentioned, the public sector, it's very structured. Salaries determined by the government, and there's typically promotion is based on, how much seniority you have or how much qualifications and added educational qualifications you have. To the contrary, private sector, the salary structures are more competitive, and it's usually based on performance. They also have performance-based incentives, as Gabriel mentioned. So it's not fixed, I would say. All right. So how then do you adapt yourself to this aspect of rewards and incentives? You can go about just understanding the typical rewards in each sector. And consider your personal preferences and goals. All right. You can also enhance your skills and performance to stand out in a competitive private sector. All right. So we mentioned that compensation for them is mostly based on, how well you have performed. So you need to outdo yourself in this environment. Okay. Lastly, on risk appetite, the public sector has a very low risk appetite. All right. So the focus for them is more of stability and things that they can predict. The private sector, on the other hand, often embraces calculated risk, but they're very high. They have a very high risk appetite. So this is what allows them to be innovative. This is what allows them to remain competitive in the market. And this is what allows them to quickly grow as opposed to more traditional or the public sector. All right. How do you align yourself then according to the risk appetite? Of course, assess what you're looking at. Are you a high risk person? Or are you a low risk person? All right. What is your risk tolerance? And decide which sector aligns better with you. All right. At the same time, then acquire skills like problem solving, critical thinking, and also creativity, to demonstrate your ability to handle risk and also be able to adapt to change. All right. So that basically covers what culture and value looks like in those two sectors. All right. And this then is mostly for employers, but then how do you achieve a work-life balance, but also for job seekers? I think as you're seeking for a job, you have an advantage to sort of bargain for some of these things if the company policy allows. So some of the ways that employers, can set a trajectory for work-life balance of the employees is through flexible work arrangements. I am privileged to work in a company that offers remote work. So this gives me a better advantage to be able to align my personal life, but as well as still contribute to work. All right. So in terms of paid time off and leave policies, employers need to encourage their staff, to take the time off, but also provide guidelines on how they can utilize their leave so that they do not go working throughout the year with no rest. Rest is equally important as work. All right. Some companies have introduced wellness programs. Like at Fuzu, we do have a counseling service provided by Wazi. Wazi is it's an online counseling service. So Fuzu pays for 1 session per week for its staff. So this is something that goes a long way in showing that the company is invested in my wellness, and in this case, emotional and mental well-being. All right. So employers, you can go ahead and create programs like such, or other programs like fitness, gym membership, whatever it may look like. Just invest, find a way of investing into the employees' wellness. All right. The other way of just promoting work-life balance is clearly communicating expectations. All right. Promote open communication. Set realistic goals for your staff and deadlines, so that to avoid burnout and overloading employees with excessive workloads. All right. So I think communication is paramount in every organization. So as to be able to achieve a work-life balance for both the employee and also the employer. All right. The other way we can achieve a work-life balance is through training and education development. This is on providing programs that help employees to manage their time effectively. So again, employers need to invest in their employees for them to see the necessity or the need for the work-life balance, or also to just set boundaries and things like that. And lastly, I think as human beings, we are motivated, I would say, by recognition and also reward. So employers can really emphasize on recognizing the input and the contribution of its staff. This goes a long way to show that you acknowledge, their work, you acknowledge them being part of the team. And in this way, the employee feels like they belong to the company. They feel the need to do more because of that acknowledgement. So this is closely tied with Abraham Maslow's theory of motivation. Again, this has a psychological aspect to it, but yes, it is important to recognize employees in the workplace. Some usually, or rather, have initiated the Employee of the Month. It's small initiatives like that. It doesn't have to be monetary rewards, but small initiatives like, the Employee of the Month award, Employee of the Year, things like that. All right. So yeah, in conclusion, I would say employers typically, and also recruiters, usually look for combination of both technical and soft skills when evaluating job applicants. So it's not just about your qualifications. So have your skills in check and have your competence upgraded and updated from time to time. Again, stay informed as career builders, stay proactive, work on yourself, network, and also remain positive. All right. It's important to say or note that networking is not a short-term goal. It's more of investing for the longer term. So nurture your relationships because they will be necessary over the long haul. All right. So the cultural differences that I also shared between the private and public sector is mostly a generalization. And this will vary from company to company. And also for the private sector, it will vary from industry to industry. All right. And lastly, on work-life balance, employers need to really invest and check in with their staff, just to get any feedback, because people's needs are unique and may not apply for everything. So just gather feedback from your staff and tailor the policies or tailor your processes and how it can best suit your staff. Yes, that would be it. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much. My takeaway from your presentation is the need to network proactively. And we're just not networking. We're just not picking people's phone numbers and contacts and email addresses. What are we going to do with that after we leave our meeting, after we leave our workshop? How will these people help us in building and enhancing our job prospects? And I like what you've said about that networking is nurturing relationships. It's not a one-time thing, and it's a long-time thing. Thank you so much, Patricia. And over to our last panelist of the day. Please remember to fill in the event form, and please remember to follow Kenya on their social media platforms. I'd like to welcome Nicholas Kasidi. He works at Living Goods, which is an NGO. Nicholas, karibu, briefly introduce yourself and make your presentation for the day. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you. You know, there's always a danger of being the last speaker. I can tell for sure the panelists have summarized quite a bit of what I wanted to anchor the conversation. However, I'll try and keep it really brief, just to ensure that we don't lose anything. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see it. Go on.
Great. Thanks a lot for this chance just to share with you. I will not, repeat what has been said, but think about it. If you were to live, Mahatma Gandhi said, "Live as if you were to die today, and learn as if you were to live forever." So that's one of my favorite quotes that I really like. One thing I just wanted to give you a quick sort of career snapshot, and the reason why I'm showing this is just to anchor the conversation we've been having around, being in different sectors, agility, the level of adaptability. Looking at this snapshot, I started off in consulting and moved back into private sector. It's a big conglomerate called General Electric, managing across different countries, different geographies. And for me, that was giving me the exposure. Now moving from a small setup or boutique consultancy into such a big space, sort of like space like GE, is usually no walk in the park, but I had to really just believe in my potential to do it. And I went for it. And by that time, I had already created, a number of online portfolios. To Gabriel's point earlier, I had, notifications from different job boards. So this GE opportunity came in as a notification, and so it works. So trust the process, trust the work that needs to be put. So I moved in there, and then, beyond GE, 5 years, I moved back into consulting, into executive search, for a brief period. I think for me, it was just to test the waters and see how this works and maybe get some lessons. And then I was poached back into corporate under Diageo, to lead talent for another 5 years. And then I think after 5 years, I said, you know what, I think I need to try a new challenge, because there's usually that danger of being in big corporates. There's usually some comfort, which I wanted to try and, get out of my system. Then I moved into a mature startup. So Living Goods is a mature startup, and it's where you co-create solutions and you build, you design, challenge and build yourself with the business, work through, different options, opportunities. Now, the other interesting bit is that Living Goods is an NGO. So having been in private sector, having been in consultancy, now moving to NGO, was for me the next big step. So I was looking at this leap as a way for me to sort of move from, the profit sector to the non-profit sector. But also driven by my purpose. I really wanted to work into something a bit more impact-led and also mission-driven. So that's where I am. And I think asking the question now, what next? So there is no silver bullet to whether you prefer public sector, whether you prefer NGO or whichever sector. I think a lot is about you, the person, what you're looking for, and where you get the greatest opportunity to really contribute and add value. Yeah, and always keep challenging yourself. Always keep challenging yourself, because I find that really useful for me. Be curious, ask questions, never be comfortable in one place. Give yourself always a timeline to be in a place. When I left GE, actually I had no job, but I had to say, you know what, I think I've had enough. I've given it my best. Internally, there was a lot of restructuring that was ongoing. So I had to really quickly craft an exit strategy and then move into consulting to really just, get myself into the deep end. And that really worked for me, because when you throw yourself into the deep end, it means you're open to learning and lifelong learning, because that speaks to sort of like what Patricia was mentioning, a growth mindset. So, and in the world today, especially in the NGO world today, we are heavily driven by funding, and the funding landscape, just as any other sector, currently is facing a lot of challenges, with most donors scaling down. Most operations in the developing world are scaling down. Most businesses are cutting down on costs, really just to stay afloat. So be very targeted. And then you'll realize also in the NGO, most of our contracts are not permanent and pensionable, to where Eva was. Ours is more fixed, make fixed term, and very much based on the project, that the donor wants to support in a particular community, in a particular country. So you need to be aware of that. So if you're looking for something that will give you job security, the world of today is not about just job security. It's about, what meaning are you getting out of what you do in terms of work? And that's the biggest challenge we have, especially in this gig economy. There are a number of types of NGOs as well. We have the civil society organizations, we have foundations, we have humanitarian organizations, we have the UN agencies. So when you are looking out, always just be keen to see, where does your preference goes, where are your aspirations? I'm sure a number of you have tried out the UN, and everyone always complains that the application process is too long, but you gotta get to do the work to get where you need to be. And sometimes I know a number of young people who give up on the way, just because of the tedious nature of, the application process. And of course, when you get to the interview stage, the rigor that comes with it is equally really crazy, because then you have to do video interviews, you have to do motivational letters, you have to present something, you have to get into different activities to really prove to them that you are definitely ready for this opportunity. Because in the NGO work or in the NGO environment, it's not very easy. As opposed to what people have always thought, that is a laid-back environment. Because these days, you really have to be fully accountable to the programs you're implementing, and you have to measure the impact that this is causing to the community, or the behaviors that this is changing in the community, whether it's gender-based, whether it's on the HIV, whether it's on women and girls, whether it's on community health, like what the president just flagged the other day. So you got to have to always look at, what's the impact? What is the change that this is causing? So I just wanted to give you that context. So just to be more aware and keep yourself ready if this is an area that you want to explore. And just to really just re-emphasize that, not really repeat what has been said. We live in a VUCA world, and in a VUCA world, nothing is permanent. It's very volatile. We're changing every day. We have employees, in the workplace who are just, trying to go by because they have quitted the organization, or they're not feeling really catered for, or they're not feeling fully engaged or productive. But then at the end of the day, what really matters is the attitude. What are you getting out of this? Why do you want to even get into employment for the, in the first case? Why not do a sense check or do a SWOT analysis of yourself and see where your real sweet spot is? Is it really in supporting someone else's dream or actually creating your own dream, or writing your own blank check? So think about it. It's very complex because there's so many things at the same time. We know the global economy has been, hitting us left, right, and center. There are a number of things that are going on with the climate change. That was a big conversation during UNGA. There's a lot of ambiguity. Where do I go? Do I go into project? Do I go into finance? So many young people really struggle at this stage to really find out what's the exact meaning and why do I want to do this? So always think about it. Stay woke. When you think about VUCA, is it a threat or opportunity? It all depends on how you look at it. Yeah. Do you have a fixed or you have a growth mindset? It all depends how you look at it. So at the end of the day, you want to always think like a marathoner. You're on that path, that track to win. Yeah. So if you're going to be a Kiptum tomorrow, you need to think about your own personal record. What personal record do you want to beat? Yeah, without considering many other aspects to it. So be your own competitor and use all the people around you to support your cause. I don't know how many of you have heard of the frog syndrome. I know Gabby mentioned something around the frog and the house, but the frog syndrome, if you can just chat on the type on the chat if you have an idea around the frog syndrome. But because of time, I'll just quickly go through it. The frog syndrome is where say if you were to throw a frog in a pot of boiling water, what would happen? It will quickly jump out of the water. Yeah, it will be instant reaction because the environment is not friendly at all. If you were to keep that same frog in a cold water within the pot and start heating that pot slowly, gradually, what would happen to the frog? Yeah, cold water, start boiling it slowly, heating it slowly. What will happen to the frog? The frog will sit in that pot and boil to death. The reason I like giving this analogy is that it is so real to our current circumstances, our current reality, even in the employment world. There are a number of us who would be jumping out of that pot when it's hot. There are a number of us who will not jump out of that pot because it is comfortable. But what happens? Restructuring happens. You find yourself on the chopping board very quickly because the business is no longer able to sustain a very huge wage bill or a very huge staff workforce because of what's going on around us, and you're the first people to go. Why? Because you stayed in that pot for too long, where the water was quite friendly. Yeah. So always think about it when in your own job search, and also think about how you can build more resilience. A friend of mine was just telling me the other day that, this looking for a job business has become a full-time job. Yeah. So how do you build that resilience without, putting your head, below the sand? Always be clear on what's important to you. Know thyself. That's the first principle of life. Know thyself. What can I do comfortably, eyes closed? What is my area of strength? See the change differently. Yeah. If everybody is going left, please be the only one person going right, even if that's a very lonely road. Yeah. Don't always take the easy path. If you get a chance to volunteer in a place, in an NGO, please ask for the most tough projects, the difficult jobs. Go to some of those remote areas in northern Kenya. Yeah, volunteer for weeks. Yeah, and see how that pays back in terms of reward. So see the change differently. Think flexibly. Yeah, adopt a growth mindset and always practice taking risks. This is really big in the private sector, especially when it comes to taking risks. So always try and practice, what is that one thing that I know it's not easy to do. It's going to take a lot of effort, it's going to take a lot of energy, but I have to do it, you know, so take those risks and get the support you need. I'm going to give you a quick exercise here because I know we've been doing a lot of talking. So please feel free to put your answers in the chat. Just tell me what you think. Yeah. Intelligence is fixed at birth. True, false. Just keep typing. And Bridget will read them for us. Some people are creative, others aren't. True, false. I want to test your critical thinking. You can become a world-class expert through enough practice wherever your starting point. True, false. Keep typing, guys.
You can write answer question 1, the answer question 2, the answer question 3, the answer.
Yes, yes. So question 1, intelligence is fixed as birth. 2, some people are creative, others aren't. 3, you can become a world-class expert through enough practice wherever your starting point. You can change aspects of your personality. Can you? True, false. And then last but not least, failing at something proves that you are not up to the task. Is this true or false? Okay, so I'll pause there and then I'll allow Bridget to read some of the responses coming through.
Okay.
I'm sure very interesting ones.
Yeah, so 1, Alice, let me start. Clifford says for question 1, false. George says is written true. Clifford Otieno for question 2 says false. Robert Lavi for question 1 says false. Clifford Otieno for question 3 says true. George Kafwa, question 1, true. Alice Ndambi, question 1, true. Kitty Ngome, question 1, false. Clifford Otieno, question 4, true. George Kafwa, question 2, yes. I think question 4, true. Robert Lawi, question 2 and 3, true. 2, 3, 4, true. Boniface Maenge, question 1, false. 2, false. 3, true. 4, true. 5, true. Clifford Otieno, 5, false. Alice Ndambi, 4, true. Yeah, just but a few, I think.
Yeah, no, we can leave it there. But you can now see the mixed reactions. I mean, some people always think intelligence fixed as birth. Some people think that it is through nurturing or through the environment that shapes you into how you become intelligent. Some people think that this is by gene. Some of us are naturally just bright. So this is a question for debate. Are some people creative, others aren't? You know, some people could be showing more creativity than others. I don't think it means that others aren't creative at all. Yeah, that is also another area for you to explore further. And the reason I'm putting this here is just for your own self-reflection and a takeaway out of this session. And think about yourself. Where do you lie in these 5 areas? Yeah, and what does it mean to you? Yeah. Now, the last one is it's best to minimize risks and play to your strengths. There are people who will avoid risks by all means. Do not touch. Play safe. Yeah, this is the job. I have a mortgage, paying school fees. I've been here for the last 10 years. What are you guys telling me? So playing really safe. But for you, at your age right now, is this a space where you want to play safe? Okay, just a question for you to reflect. Yeah, and just a quick one, difference, fixed, these are skills, talents, and capabilities are predetermined and finite. So that is a fixed mindset. So if that is how you see yourself, then you could be in that fixed bracket. Success depends on protecting and promoting fixed qualities. Failure represents lack of talent. Now, growth mindset, on the other hand, is everyone can change and grow. Success is the result of effort, learning, and persistence, like what we said. And failure always is an opportunity for these people. So always ask yourself some of these things. And as I finish, Patricia passionately talked about networking. One thing I can tell you is always practice telling your own story. Nobody can write your own story for you. Nobody can say your own story for you, whether this is online or offline. But because we are digital opportunity trust, I think we are leveraging a lot on our digital platforms. So try and look at your online presence. Yeah. Take a photographer or a designer, talk to a photographer or a designer to make sure that you get a good shot for your profile, your online profile. Clean up your accounts. Yeah. Share your content whenever you with audiences. So if you are a content creator, if you're a creative, if you're a techie guy, whatever you do, share it. If you're in business, please share with people. Yeah. And then the most other important thing, if you're really keen to the NGO sector, is try and familiarize yourself with the sector-specific job boards. What I've mentioned here are just a few. We have Humentum. You can look out for foundation lists. Those are all available online. You can look at Devex. There is Indeed.com. There is Impact Pool. There is Relief Web. There is a resource called Youth Cafe. This one you can get all the resources around, the youth consortia and what's happening in terms of empowering young people for different opportunities, either business or employment. We also have the International Youth Foundation, so you can check that out as well. Guys, we also have sponsored fellowship programs, and a lot of these are being sponsored by MasterCard, so check them out as well. So you got enough tools to leverage. Always listen and ask for feedback. Invest in personal coaching. Yeah, go to those events. So I wouldn't wanna belabor this point, but I think you're getting one or two insights out of this. And I really want to thank you for your patience and also for DOT for bringing this opportunity. Back to you, Bridget.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with you. I concur with you that it is important that we all adopt a growth mindset. The need for the young people to volunteer. I know most of us, the young people, look at volunteering from a point of, I will not get money, I am using my time, I'll not get paid for this. But I always advise the young people to look at volunteering and internships as an opportunity for you to gain skills that will, of course, help you moving forward in your career. I also like the bit about being different. Being different, just that, being different. So thank you so much for the great insights that you've given us, Nicholas. And thank you so much to all of the panelists, Eva, Nicholas, Gabriel, and Patricia. Thank you so much for the insights that you've given us. And as we move to the panel discussions, where I'll ask 2 questions and open the floor for the participants to ask questions. I'd like to remind us to follow Kenya on their social media platforms. The link is on all the links for the various socials are on the chat box, as well as just kindly remember to fill the event form. So my first question it is an open question to all 4 panelists. What are your thoughts on internships and apprenticeship programs as a means to introduce young talent to various employment sectors? What are your thoughts on internships and apprenticeship, and what is it like a good platform to introduce young talent into the public sector? What are your thoughts? And the second question would be, so that you just answer 2 of them at a go, how can young professionals navigate the different complexities in the various employment sectors? I know, like, maybe life in private sector is really fast because people are making profits. We are not wasting time. In government, I know there is bureaucracy. Maybe in NGOs, there's so much around. When the donor comes, you have a salary. When the grant is over, you now don't have a salary and you have to go home. How can young professionals navigate the different complexities in this sector? So yes, 2 questions for all the 4 panelists. And for the participants, you can start asking your questions on the chat box. And once the panelists answer the 2 questions, I can now open the floor for Q&A. Yes, I'll start with Eva.
Thank you very much, Bridget. Internship as a means to introduce young people. I think it's very effective. Let me perhaps speak on behalf of the public sector. Effective in the sense that the intern has sufficient time to decide whether this is where they want to work, or whether they like the values, or whether they can adapt to the culture of the various public organizations where they do their internship. And let me say that most of the time, the cultures, the values of the various public sector organizations would be similar. So you have sufficient time. Many internship programs run, let's say, a minimum 6 months to 12 months. I tend to think that is sufficient. So I think, yes, it is effective, because then you will have learned what the organization is all about, and you'd make an informed decision whether you want to stick around or not, or whether if you get a chance to come back, because sometimes after the 12 months, you're let to go. But then you will have already tested, do I want to engage some more or not? And then insofar as navigation, particularly of, let's say, the cultures is concerned, I think it's also a personal decision. If you're going to work in the public sector, there are certain decisions you have to make, and you're making that from an informed perspective. If decision making is slow, you understand why it is slow, because some of the projects that are run in public sector have to get approval sometimes from Treasury, and that takes so long. So number one is that you'd be able to understand why things are slow, and then assess yourself, do I want to wait? And number two, if you want to grow, you'll be asking yourself, am I patient enough to wait? And as I wait, how do I prepare myself for the D-Day when the opportunity comes? What is it I need to be preparing as I wait to be able to take on a new responsibility or a promotion when it comes? So I think it accords you sufficient time and gives you the opportunity to understand the environment, so that if you need to move, or if you need to make a decision, you're making a decision from an informed perspective. Should you get a job, then you're not new to the work of that organization. So you will hit the ground running insofar as work is concerned. That's what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Over to you, Gabriel.
All right, thank you. I think that question is good. And I'll say this, if you get a chance to secure either an internship or a presentaship, then I would say that's a very golden opportunity for you to, as my colleague Eva is saying, test yourself. And the reason why this is important is because when sometimes you've not joined the labor market, you have a very elusive view of what it takes. And I'm sure from experience, when I worked in the bank, then people will come and say, I want to go and work in dealership and Forex just because they think, it's a very rosy area. And sometimes you tell them, okay, can we just attach you for 1 month there? Then you tell us whether that's what you want. And sometimes they actually think otherwise. So that, and especially when you're young, when you're in 20s, experiment as much as possible. Of course, you can't experiment when you're 40s and 50s. There are a lot. So at your 20s, try to get access to opportunities that you can expedite yourself, test the waters, learn about the work ethics, test for yourself. In terms of navigation, I would say I think that depends on yourself. I usually say there's no really marketable courses or marketable like degrees. If you yourself as a brand, you are not marketable. So I say there's more marketable professionals, not necessarily marketable careers. So you'll find somebody who have done a very kind of, seemingly marketable course, like people who are doing data science today, and they're still stomaching. You can do that medicine course and still don't get a job, because the more important is you yourself. Are you marketable? So say navigating through, I would say invest more on yourself, your employability skills, learn what is happening out there, and position yourself. I said build a portfolio, meaning if God has called you to participate in politics, start your own blog and start talking about political opinion. Even I know in Kenya there's that terminology, kujituma. Say to yourself, start lighting who have denied you, because the global, especially the digital space, have allowed us to have a leveled ground for everyone else. If you're in technology, start developing some small portfolio of your own apps. Somebody will notice, and actually because of that portfolio, they're going to call you for either a partnership or probably even end up financing your initiative or your venture. So yes, take a personal lead. Don't wait for somebody to endorse you. Endorse yourself. Be you. Because when you have the conviction about yourself, somebody else can then also believe in you. So about internship, yes, 100%. Go ahead and don't just focus on internship that are just aligned to what you have studied. Because I've also seen sometimes you've done accounting, then you're only looking for accounting internship. Learn something else. You can have an internship in marketing. That's okay. The focus is that you're getting it for learning. That's not your lifetime job, not leading. But you can be able to learn some either work ethics, networking also, regardless of what kind of an organization that maybe you had chosen. But again, I will also repeat, I'll prefer if you can begin with some established startups. I think what my colleague Cassidy was saying. Those established startups are quite more, they give you more opportunity to be more all-rounded than just specialized on one area. And that exposure will position you to a more accelerated growth in other subsequent opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patricia.
Right. Thank you for those two questions. Not to repeat what has been said, but I think are internship necessary? Absolutely. It gives you an opportunity to, refine the skills you have, to relearn and learn, things that you thought should be done this way, but we took a ground at teaching you otherwise. So there's that aspect, and then also inclining to my facet of networking through that entry point or through that internship. Then you have whether you're able to develop a professional connection. Myself, I can recall I had an internship at one of the government parastatals, and I have a contact now I can pick up and seek a guidance or seek referral. So yes, it's also a way that you are able to develop a professional network. The other question, how then can, the youth navigate the different spaces? I would say also look at or think about mentorship. Look at someone who has gone ahead of you and just seek counsel, seek guidance from them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, mentorship plays a huge role in our development in our day-to-day lives. Nicholas?
Yeah, so I think take advantage of such opportunities because most companies, organizations use this route to build their entry-level talent pipeline. And sometimes they're very competitive, even at the internship or even at the apprenticeship level, because they really want to go for the creme de la creme. So always try and just, get yourself ready for such, know how to go about the application process, know about what is required to ensure that you're in a good position to be shortlisted. Yeah, but when they come your way, please take them on as a full-time job, full commitment, and give it your all. In terms of the complexities, I think it really depends on really what you're looking for. And I wouldn't get myself into a very fixed position of like, look, this is what I've done, or this is what I've done. I've done accounts or I've done engineering, and so I have to get an engineering job. Or I've done, biochemistry and have to get a job, say, in a health facility. So be very open-minded, and especially at this stage in your career, to explore different options available, wherever they are. Yeah, so it's not cast in stone that you have to follow what you've done in your undergrad. So keep it very open.
Okay, thank you so much. So I now time is far much spent, and I'll just open the floor for maybe 3 questions, and then we can call it a day. Yes, feel free to raise your hand, unmute your mic, and ask the question. Or I have seen questions in the chat box. Anyone who wants to ask a question, you can raise your hand. You can unmute as well. Oh, okay, Clifford, I can see your hand is raised. Go on.
Thank you very much for the amazing presentations. I wanted to ask on portfolio building. It's something that I'm really interested in, and I've seen advertisements that actually would want to see whatever you have done. Now, I work remotely online, and some of the work aren't really stuff that you can share online. So I would want to know how much is really shareable outside there that you can actually put into your work portfolio. Secondly, with the kind of online work that most of the youths we do, how do you actually get to measure the successes of your products, of whatever you do, since you are not there on the ground to observe how successful your measures or your recommendations have been implemented, the success rate of whatever you have done. So how will you actually measure that and put it into your resume? Thank you.
Hello, Clifford.
Hello.
Hi, Clifford, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, I think either of the panelists can answer the question he's asked on building portfolios.
I think I can attempt. Yeah, I think the understanding of a portfolio is that this is how you have applied your skills, gifts, or talent for something that is evidenced impact. That's purely a portfolio. Let me just give you a bit of my background. When I graduated in university, I attended a workshop for proposal writing, grant proposal writing, which is purely in the NGO world. I just attended a 1-week seminar somewhere to be told how to do, grant proposals, financial proposals, and I took it upon myself. I went actually to the village where I grew up. And I went to these chamas, these groups, groups of farmers trying to do farming, dairy goat farming, water irrigation. And I started doing proposals for them. Amazingly, 2 of them were funded by some German GIZ, at that time it was GTZ. And I added in my portfolio where I said I facilitated financing of, something around water harvesting, something around that. And I started building that. And I had almost 9 use cases of places where I went, maybe met a football club guys. They wanted to be financed, maybe to be around, kind of to be capacity built around acquisition of sports facilities. And I did the proposal, maybe a foundation or an NGO financed. And I had started adding that in my portfolio. It's my very early stage of career. And that gave me limitless opportunity. I didn't work for NGOs, though I partnered with them at a point. But if I had a choice to work, actually, I had a lot of opportunity within the NGO world just because of my portfolio. So I was telling them, I'm not waiting for you to employ me for me to improve the community well-being. I'm already doing it voluntarily, and I can actually could get 10% commission from that. I don't want anybody just to copy me, yes, but I could charge them 10% of the budget as my facilitation fee. That's a portfolio. Now, you guys are living in a world where now you have these gig portals, the Upwork, the GitHubs. So you go to the GitHub, you build your portfolio there. Go to Upwork, build your portfolio there. How to access the impact is actually through feedback or evaluation. So if you've done something for people, I've seen people writing CVs. If you're able to say, I wrote or I reviewed CV for 1,000 job seekers and 40% of them have secured job, that's a portfolio by itself. So it's more through feedback and deliberate evaluation of your work. So you're not focusing on the activity, but focusing on what did you contribute at the end of the day. If you do that and your CV is full of more of the achievement in terms of your impact, it has more appeal than just saying I have a master's in an MBA or something else. But the rest of my team could also contribute.
Thank you. Just if I may add a little bit to what Gabriel just shared. Thank you. That's excellent. I will just build from where you left to say that if you're able to get your customers to say something about your product or the portfolio you have built, then it makes a lot of sense. And also just to share from my experience, I don't know whether any of you noticed conspicuously that I have my first degree in chemistry. And I'm wondering whether any of you is wondering what Eva is doing in HR. So that tells you that as a young person, you can always look at the opportunities that are available. If you're flexible enough, you get to know where you want to go. And as I said also in my profile, having done a lot of consultancy work in this country in HR, I therefore have letters of recommendation from different organizations confirming that Eva did a restructuring exercise for us during this year, between this date and this date, whether it was successful or not. So the idea that there's somebody to testify, an independent person to testify as to what you're able to do, I think that also helps in strengthening your portfolio. But insofar as the effectiveness of it or the success of it is concerned, how to measure is only through your customers, so that you can also get to know maybe what you can improve or what you might need to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. That then moves us to our second and last question. Is there a standard CV format? Is there a standard CV font or size that if we do not follow that, we risk being rejected and not getting job opportunities?
Yeah, maybe if I can pick that. I don't think there is what I would call a standard CV format. However, each and every organization, especially the ones in the international development sector, can be very specific. For instance, the UN, how you present your profile, or even the EU has a template, that they prefer for the CVs to look like. So I would say unless specified, based on that particular role that you're applying for, then you can use that. But then you don't have to use that same one if you use it for that EU, for all the other jobs. One thing I would also encourage you to do is get someone else to critique your CV, just to make sure that you cover everything that you need in there. There are usually some small mistakes that you need to avoid, things like, spelling mistakes, copy pasting from someone else's CV into yours. You don't have to do those. And, so try and make sure that your CV looks properly formal, well-structured. The content is really talking to your achievements and your milestones, instead of reading a list of the things in your job description. So usually people make a big mistake on just populating a list of what is their job description, but just try and pick out, what are the key highlights that you want to position in that CV without really making it so long, but also not too short to cover the subject matter.
Yes. Eva, not Eva, sorry, Patricia.
Right, I think I can speak on the font. Well, of course, it has to be a font that is clearly seen, not completely calligraphed type of fonts. So go with the safer options, go with Arial, go with Times New Roman. Just be safe. You'd rather be safe than try and look fancy. Yeah, so I would say no particular font, but again, make sure it's visible. And as Nicholas has said, you can have someone also give you a second opinion on the same. It might not be a professional, but just someone else to sort of give a look on whether it's okay.
Yeah, so thank you so much. Time is far much spent. So if you have any questions, I'd advise that you follow the panelists, follow them on their LinkedIn and their socials, and then you can get their contacts, and then they can they can elaborate further on items that we may have missed. So thank you so much to our participants for being part of this workshop. Your presence has been highly valued. I hope you're going to leave this workshop with takeaways that will improve your job and your employment prospects. To our panelists, thank you so much for sharing with us your informative insights. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Kenya, Digital Opportunity Trust Kenya, for the work that they do in supporting the young people to take part and to lead in creating positive change in their communities. I have been your host and your moderator, Bridget Siente. I am a YLAB member. YLAB is Youth Leadership Advisory Board member at Kenya. I look forward to us having more of these conversations. And in order for you to get today's recording, follow Kenya social media platforms, and just also be on the lookout for other exciting empowerment opportunities. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
All right, good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.